ดีครับ
Good morning, Agnes.
Good morning, Jane.
Now, good morning to all our participants. I hope everyone can be able to hear me. Today is 7th November. The year is 2020. And we are starting our first module. This is Train the Trainer. It is divided into 3 units or 3 modules. I would urge every one of us present to participate so that by the end of the day, you would be able to have acquired the knowledge required in becoming the trainer of trainers. So now we want to train you to become a trainer. And by the end of the day, you can actually experiment. We'll give you an opportunity. Once you feel you are okay now and ready to go to train, we'll give you an opportunity to conduct a training on our platform via our organization, that is the Academy of Certified Human Resource Professionals. So, having said that, I want to invite Madam Agnes Mweni Same. Agnes holds a master's, an MBA in Human Resource Management, and she's also a CHRPK. She's trained with us before, and she's a good trainer. Madam Agnes, over to you.
Thank you, Dan, for this opportunity. And I want to welcome all our participants to this today's meeting. Good morning, our participants. I hope you all can hear me. I want to once again welcome you to today's training of trainer module 1. And probably before we start, maybe I can ask any one of you to pray for us, and then we start from there. Anyone? Yes, Susan, I can confirm you are hearing me. Anyone to pray for us?
Let's pray.
Sheila Hassan. Okay.
Can we pray? Our Father and our
Yes,
God.
we can pray.
Okay, let's pray. Our Father and our God, we go before you this morning. We want to thank you, O Lord, for this day that you met, O Lord, that will meet today. Lord, we are going to go through a training, O Father, how we ask you to refresh our minds, O Lord, to understand what we are going to be trained. And Lord, you also refresh the trainer in our mind so that she can make value to our training to us, oh my Father. I pray for each one of us in this forum that, Lord, we are going to come out with that difference, and that, Lord, we are going to add value to what we do every day. For in Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you so much, Maria. Probably before I start our presentation for today, I will give you a brief introduction of this train the trainer. In every organization, we have processes and the culture on how things are done. So this training basically is to train probably new employees who are completely inexperienced in their field, and they probably have been employed to an organization to train the rest. Also, it is meant for employees who can be hired into new organization and need to learn the processes, regardless of how much you know and what you know. Each and every organization has its own way of doing things. So it is important to get acquainted and to know what goes on, because each organization has its own way of doing things. So it's important to get involved and to know what goes on. So this training enables new employees as well as experienced employees to learn the processes of doing things. In addition to this, as HR practitioners, apart from doing the normal routine day-to-day work, at some point, because now you are getting to the boardroom, you'll be able to train some of the emerging issues in this evolving and dynamic world. You'll be able to go and train board members on what is happening. And unless you have the confidence to train, you may enter that boardroom, you see your CEO, your chairman, and you start shaking. So this is one of the platforms where you can get confidence and skills to train and know how to go about it. And generally, training and development is key to each and every organization because skills are changing, everything is changing, and unless you practice continuous training, you may find your organization is obsolete and you are working on ways which do not work. So I want to project my presentation and then let you know how we are going about it so that we move together. Okay, so I'm projecting it. Okay, as Dan has put it, this train the trainer is divided into three modules for purpose of ensuring that we have enough information for each period. So today we are dealing with module 1. As we proceed, I'll show you how the modules are divided. But today we are dealing with module 1. And as introduction, probably you may have had your expectations. We will have to look at all of them and also see whether the training can address all of them or part of it. And if not, you can always ask so that together we move, because in such a platform, we are just sharing knowledge and information, because I know most of you may have gone through this, but we are just reminding ourselves. So this is the objective or the objectives of the entire uh, module, the three of them. But for today, we shall go up to the fifth bullet, criteria for evaluating training. That's what we shall cover in module 1. Then we shall have subsequent 2 modules to cover the rest. So basically, this is the objective of the entire module. And I would encourage all of you to attend and participate in all the 3 modules so that you may have a complete knowledge of what it entails. Because besides this, and as Dan has put it, if you can have this skill of training, at one time you'll be given an opportunity also to train as part of your career growth and development, because acquiring knowledge is good and training can be also part of you. So in addition to your work, you can have this as part of your work when you are not so busy. So I said for today, we'll go up to 5th bullet, criteria for evaluating training. So for introduction, as I had said before I projected this, we are going to use this example of this lady called Hazel, and we are using this company. You can now customize this company to your own company to see what it entails, because this is just an example, but you can try now to link it with what you do, whether you are a new employee or probably you may get a job elsewhere where you are required or you are required to train. So as an example and as introduction, we are saying this lady Smith is a process trainer. Probably for you, it may not be a process trainer. You could be HR trainer or service delivery trainer or whichever area you are in, because HR personnel now or people are no longer the HR we used to know. You are business minded, you know about marketing and everything that goes on in that organization. So we are saying this Hazel is in this telecom company called Globus, and it provides different mobile broadband related services. So these are people who are dealing with uh, technology, probably ICT or whichever. And all of us now must get conversant with telephone. So you may be called how to train. Initially, we never used to train using this. I have just learned this because we were used to one-on-one. But because of the dynamism and change, I was also trained to use on this. The same way you were also trained because you used to sit down, but now you are using your gadget. Probably you are in a hotel right now, you could be in the house or wherever you are. So this is what we are saying, and this training is so relevant to all of us because now I'm training you, and I was also trained on how to train using laptop and at the comfort of wherever I am. So try to customize and personalize this training. Then we are told Hazel will be responsible for training technical support. You could be responsible for training maybe drivers on customer care, your secretarial staff on business etiquette, or another training. You could be going into board meetings and you need to take board through the emerging issues in terms of policy changes, uh, how you are going to deal with this pandemic, maybe the rate of uh, employee leaving the organization is high, so you must have a topic to talk about. And unless you have the skills and you know how to go about it, you may not be able to articulate the issues. So this is a very, very important training for us. And as an introduction, it's important to get the concept right from the onset using this example of Hazel. So as Hazel is new to Globus, probably she has been working elsewhere and then she is new here. She is not aware of the technical support. Just the same way, you may not be aware of what is happening in this era, followed by the customer profile, because she doesn't know, she is new to this organization. She doesn't know who the customers are, how they interact, and they go about it. So she needs to know and get acquainted. The customer profile and also the geographical area being served by Global. Probably your organization does marketing, you have branches all over Kenya, the culture in Northeastern may be different from the culture in Western, Coast, Eastern, and all that. So it is important to know who you are dealing with, the processes which are used, and how to handle different customers and the different people. And without that knowledge, you may not be able to penetrate and handle customers as required. So, how will you train the new people if you do not know or you are not aware of the process? So it is important to know what you are dealing with. And unless you have that, you may not be able. Hence, the need now for this training, because as we say in computer language, we say garbage in, garbage out. So if you know the content, you are confident of what goes on in an organization, you'll be able to give the correct answers. And remember, in this current world of a lot of information, you are held responsible for the information which you give. And you cannot give information which you are not sure of. So it's important to have everything at the fingertips. And you can only have it through learning and development. And that gives you confidence. And if you are confident, you'll be trusted by your CEO, your board of directors, even the employees. So if you are aware of what you are giving, you will stand a good chance to be even promoted or being called wherever there are issues, because the CEO or the people in the organization have confidence that if it is Mary, if it is Ruth, she is going to give confidence. But now, if you are not aware, what are you going to give people? That's why, in most cases, you call upon somebody to talk about something, and the someone asks, "Where do I start?" Already it shows that person doesn't know what they are doing, because if you know, definitely you have somewhere to start. And that's why in everything you do, introduction is very, very, very important. So you must start from somewhere. So train the trainer program is why now we have this. So the answer to that question which we asked, if Hazel doesn't know or she's not aware of what to train, what is she going to train? So try to put yourself in the shoes of Hazel. Ask yourself, if I do not know what I am supposed to tell my drivers, how am I going to reach them? So that now brings us to our today's topic, train the trainer program. So the answer to this lies in train the trainer program. Your company has proper defined train the trainer. And if it does not have, you can always create it from today after acquiring this knowledge. And that should be probably the starting point. If it is not there, you can always have it. If it is, then you can add to what you already know. So, any new trainer who joins your company should go through train the trainer program, where you first learn the process from a senior experienced trainer, because somebody has to take you through this training. Because I said, much as you may be a trainer in yourself, you need to get trained, because you cannot know everything. As I said before, I am a trainer, but before I didn't know how to train through the Zoom. So I had to be taken through, and I'm still learning, and we are all learning. So we cannot purport the fact that you know and you have a lot of skills, you know everything. That one is not true, because learning is a continuous process. So then, after the new trainer has been trained, you are now ready to train the technical support executives. You may be training the executives, you may be training other support, and for those of us in this forum who are in public sector, if you look at the current performance contracting, there are two dockets which have been added in the performance contracting for this financial year, there is the gender mainstreaming. It has not been there, and yet it has to be executed. And probably you are not a gender trainer, and you have been given that docket because it has to be reported quarterly. So you may be so knowledgeable, you may be a good trainer, but unless now you are given the skills to train on gender mainstreaming and reporting, you are not going to be able to report on that docket. On the same note, those who are still in public sector and even in private organizations, there's a very good docket which has been added on prevention of alcohol and drug substance in the office. And when I look at the indicators of that docket, one of them is to come up with workplace policy. Now, if you've never handled that kind of work, you need a lot of training. And I know at the moment, those who are handling that docket, NACADA has prepared, trained the trainer for the people who have been given that docket to come up with workplace policy on how to prevent alcohol in the organization. So the purpose of this is to equip now the committee members on how to go about formulating a policy on alcohol prevention. Still, on the issue of HIV and AIDS, National AIDS Control Council has also come up with the training to train people on how to go about now training a particular package on HIV prevention. So train the trainer program is very, very, very important for all of us in the HR docket. Whether you are in private, whether you are in NGO, whether it is your own company, whether you are in government or wherever you are, this one is mandatory for all HR practitioners. And we should have an open mind to learn the skills because without them, has been the drivers of the organization, we may not get very far. So hence, hence the first learning, the process followed for technical support by this company, train the trainer program. After successfully completing this program, you'll be ready now to train the new technical support or the executives or the people you may be handling. So it is important once you are taken through this, you should be able to handle and train the new people or wherever you are. So let's learn about the train the trainer program in detail. You can see train the trainer program is very important for completely inexperienced trainer like some of us, because if training has not been our core business, we can say we are inexperienced. Not that we don't know the skills, but since it is not our core, we don't practice it, although we are qualified HR practitioners or a trainer who has joined a new organization. As I put it earlier, train the trainer is for inexperienced trainers or anyone who has joined a new organization and he or she doesn't know the processes which are being followed. Or for you people now who, because of what is happening, need to adjust and impact some knowledge because there are many things you may not have known. Some of us may not have been aware of what is happening using the Zoom, using the team, using LinkedIn and all that. So you need to get train in order to fit in the organization and remember the dynamic in the organization, the kind of staff we are having. We have the old generation, we have the young who are computer savvy, and we have to move with them in order to cope with this turbulent world of ever-changing environment. So the trainer program helps the trainer to be familiar with the process and the training program followed by the organization. And it helps the trainer to be confident of being capable of training others. I say training is a skill, and there are some people by their nature they are not able to stand in front of people and communicate. Others are also very scared of the technology because you may tell somebody now you are going to train online using Zoom, Teams, or whichever other medium, and they are not. So through train the trainer, you get that confidence that at least you are able to speak in public because it is also not easy for some people who have no confidence to speak. But as you continue practicing and getting the skills, getting empowered, getting the skills which are required to build that confidence, that you are able to articulate the issues without any fear, and also how to behave in front of people, and also how to handle different people at any given time, because we have various cadres of people in your organization, and the content you use differs from one category to another, and also it depends on the timing of the training. So there are so many things or so many skills you need to acquire from train the trainer, because training is not just a matter of reading the slides and rolling them up to the end. There is more than that. There are so many things which, as a trainer, you must learn. And it is a skill which we all need to go through. So, as I said from the beginning, this is the objective of the entire training, divided into three models. I said today we are only going up to bullet 5, how to do evaluation at the end of it. So this is just to guide us. So the first one for today in this module is need for training and development. We all know training and development is actually one of the key components of HR, because the first function of HR in every organization is employee resourcing. That is bringing employees to the organization. Once you bring those employees to your organization, definitely you need to train and develop them for purpose of getting them to understand the processes, the culture, how you do things, and everything. And for personal growth and career development, as well as organizational growth. You cannot now stay in this era without and training and developing your employee, because everything is changing at a very, very fast rate, and especially this time of technological era where everything is moving faster than we anticipated. So there is a need to train and develop your employees right from your board of directors to the lowest person, because it is now not business as usual. We need to understand the interests of the business. There's a lot of competition. The world is changing very, very, very fast. So training has to be conducted throughout, and I want to congratulate all of you who have joined this forum, because actually you are on the right track. You are doing what is expected of anyone who wants to be abreast of what is happening in this world globally and in the market. So, need for training has so many reasons, so many. But for today, we only talk about six, and you can add more and more. But the key ones for today is say, and we know training plays very key role in development of any individual, starting with me and you. And for today, you will have earned a point because you have at least developed it and gained something at the end of the training. And in today's competitive world, it is important that your organization should build and sustain competencies. Competencies are skills, knowledges, and attitude that provide you with competitive advantage after your competitors. For the private firms who are competing in the market, unless you have the right skills so that you may outdo your competitor, you just be mark timing. If you are using obsolete equipment or gadgets, you just remain there complaining that the economy is not doing well, there are no customers and all that, not knowing without the right skills and competences. People are just making money. This issue, the current situation of COVID, some organizations have done actually better than what we were doing because they have seen opportunities, they have seen the skills they can use to tap where others are complaining. So it is important because of competition, and the competition is good because it makes you to be on your toes. And even you as HR practitioners, you need to be competitive by having competences, the right skills to stand in the market. Currently, I can tell you and I can assure you, HR is the way to go. Beneath there are jobs which are going to be obsolete, not HR, because the future of this world globally, it is human resource. And you can only stand out if you continue learning, acquiring any new skill, get it so that even when you are called for an interview, your CV stands out. And number two, we are saying in today's world, it is an era of knowledge. I do not need to overemphasize or belabor on era of knowledge, where human beings are valued greatly as high value assets. That is very true because knowledge is changing, it is coming. We've heard of artificial intelligence, whereby they are saying work will be done by robots. But I can tell you, even those robots are being done by people, and there are some things which cannot be done by robots, like attitude, the soft skills. We shall still need you people, no matter what is being phased out, because there is a study which was being done, and they were talking of some jobs which will be obsolete probably by 20, 2050 or thereabouts. But after all the research and the analysis, actually the job which stands to remain, it is human resource, because there is an extent where a human being can never be replaced. So knowledge, the, the changing so fast of everything, we need to be on top of things. So we can only have this through training, and development. And sometimes you have to make personal effort. You create your own interest to learn some of these things, because you can agree with me from the onset, nobody knew whether we would be training from home and we all are together. We were used to the traditional training where we sit in a conference or in a room and then we talk. But now you can see you are training from the comfort of wherever you are. And it is because of era of knowledge. Everything is changing. Personally, I didn't even know about Zoom. I've never heard of it. I had never heard of Teams, but now I know. I never heard of cloud and all that. But now these are the things we know because knowledge is changing and we have to be abreast and up to date in terms of what is happening. Number three, we are saying in organizations that are continually growing and evolving, training and development programs help you and your employees to provide the much needed response to changing environment. Uh, Long ago, uh, mothers used to take maternity leave to go and nurse their babies. These days now, things have changed. Mothers are going to work with their babies. They are able to work. At the same time, they are able to nurse their babies. So you can see, as a HR, you need to know what is happening and how to go about it. Now we are hearing about the creche, where now mothers have some time and also they can work from home and send the report, because that's how things are. And the HR, as HR person, you cannot just sit and say, no, this is how we have done things. We must get to know what is happening, how the environment is changing, how the workforce is changing. We are having restless employees. Some years back, when you get employed, you used to give a package of on permanent basis. These days, it is no longer permanent. We are giving contracts or short employment terms, and we have to adjust ourselves to that, because that's where the world is headed. The changes are there. We are having different demographics of employees. We have the aging group, we have the new upcoming employees who are savvy in computers, in technology, and all that. And we have to accommodate all of them, because they are our employees and we need to serve them. So HR has a lot of tasks. But if your attitude is right and you are open to change, you are going to cope. What there is, just be open, admit where you do not know, ask where you do not know, be able to learn. Don't say you have been practicing for the last 20 years, so there's nothing you do not know. That is the wrong attitude, and you are going to remain obsolete, and you'll be dealing with things of 1960s, and you'll be completely irrelevant and you'll be replaced. So even if you are 50 years in that organization, even if you are just about to retire, just be open to technology, embrace it. It will be taken slowly by slowly so that you may understand. Even if you are an analog, sit down with the tech savvy young people, let them take you through where you do not understand. And the fact that you are learning and you are a slow learner does not mean you do not know. We know you are still very experienced from the many years you have been working, but the environment is changing at a very fast rate. But as long as you have the right attitude, you are good to go. You'll be interacting with those young people and you'll be able to move and enjoy your profession as a HR person. So training and development should be a priority. It should be allocated very huge budget so that you retain your employees. We are saying um, training and development, it is a continuous process that is required by all of you. And as I said, I congratulate you because I know most of you have been in this profession for very, very many years and you are already there. I know there are professors of HR, there are gurus of HR, but those people are still continuing to learn because what you learned 3 years ago may be obsolete because things are just evolving day in, day out. And there are other players. There is competition, there are new entrants in the market. The world is changing so fast, so you need continuous learning and development to remain relevant. And that's why this profession will never, never, never be obsolete at any one given time. Even if that's why they are always talking about the future of HR, the future of HR, simply because things are changing day in, day out. And again, we are saying training and development helps you to develop your own personality and hone one's skills and enhance efficiency. Here, what we are saying is as you train, as you interact with people, as you network, you are learning new things. Because even in this forum, before you leave, make sure you network, learn something, and you become a better performer because you cannot work in isolation as a HR practitioner. Consult, learn what this organization is doing. Even if you get stuck, because sometimes there's no formula for handling some of the things in human resource. Like, for example, as an employee or as a HR person, someone comes complaining and saying, this employee of yours has been paid and they have disappeared. Or somebody brings a child in the office and they say, this child belongs to one of your employees. Nobody has ever told you a skill on how to handle such things. So you consult somebody to know how to handle this kind of person. And the way you handle such a situation brings out the personality in you because it is also a skill. Also, those who are handling pension schemes in your organization, somebody passes on and you see the entire village or the entire clan coming to come and they claim the benefits. Nobody has taken you to school on how to make the right decision depending who should get what. And you see other people emerging. So the way you handle that case shows the kind of personality you are possessing and the skills on a personal relationship and how your efficiency in all that relates to that. Therefore, as a HR person, you need to network and consult others. That is still training and development because you don't need necessarily to go to class or training. You also learn from other people because some of these things you learn through experience, not through classroom training. And finally, we are saying training and development helps to play important and integral part of the organizational renewal process. In other words, we are saying all the processes in the organization, all the business plans, everything that goes on in the organization the integral role and part is human resource, because doesn't matter the art of the technology, it is driven by human resource, and these are human beings, and the human resource rotates under the Department of Human Resource and Development. We are talking of human beings who are talented, who are knowledgeable, and who should be able to articulate issues. And when you are training, you don't just train for the sake of training to say we train. There must be a reason. There must be an aim. There must be why you are conducting a training. Like for today, we had a purpose of this training program for today as SCHRP. And one of them was to equip our HR practitioners with skills on how to train the new employees, or for them to know what they need to train in case something new happens, or in case they want to articulate a particular issue to the management, to the staff, or another key stakeholder. So our purpose was to impart skills to you people, so that at the end of the day, you should be able to train, you should be able to gain the skills, and you should be able also to build your personality, and also you should be able to network with other HR practitioners to handle the emerging issues in the world of HR. So it's important for any trainer to know the purpose of training program, so that you don't bring everything you know about. By knowing the purpose of training program, a trainer knows what he or she is aiming to achieve at the end of every training. So, whatever you are doing, there's something you want to aim at the end of it all, and also to learn whether you have communicated. And that's why from the onset I said, for today, we shall end at the evaluating of training, because there's no need of talking to people and they realize at the end of everything they have learned nothing. It will be a waste of time and a waste of many hours doing nothing. So every program must have a purpose why we join. And even you, as a HR person, you must have had a reason why you came, so that you acquire something, even if not many, at least go home with one item why the training is important. So even a program must have a purpose, so that at the end of it, you know what is it you are exactly doing. So, in a nutshell, this is the purpose of a training program. There are so many, but because of information overload, we want to be modest, not to overload you with information which may not help you, but at the end of this, you get this presentation for future reference, because you may not absorb everything for now. One purpose of training program is to acquire knowledge. We said this is era of knowledge, and knowledge is power. And when you have knowledge, you can sit in any forum. Doesn't matter who are there. You can sit there and confidently articulate what you know, because you are sure what you are saying, it is something which is virtual, and you can share it and it can be used. So acquire knowledge. Knowledge is very, very, very important, and the knowledge makes you alert. regardless of your background, regardless of your level of education, regardless of your age, regardless of what you do. As long as you are knowledgeable, you'll be okay and you'll be respected, because people know if I go to so and so with whichever issue, I will get something out of it, out of that person. So learning should change your attitude. After all, learning makes us change our attitude. There are some people who have mindset that they cannot learn anything. Even if something comes, they tell you, I know this, or they try to block their mind. If that attitude continues, you find someone who will never learn. And these are the people, when promotions come, because somebody was taken for a simple 2-week training, and they say, no, I don't want to go. What is there for me? What am I going to benefit from? And when promotion comes and there's a certain requirement, somebody is left out, then they start blaming the organization, they start blaming the system, saying they are being discriminated, and yet it is their own attitude. Because I'm sure if we can share, even in your own organization, you have those perpetual complainers, and probably you gave somebody an opportunity to go and learn. But because of the attitude, and that they think that attitude is towards the organization, not knowing the attitude is personal and it works against you. Probably even there are some people who were told to log in and attend this program, and because of their attitude, they said, I've attended this training many times and there is nothing I do not know. Yes. Uh, just a minute. Yes, there. Hello? From neighbors. Let me check. Okay. Yeah, neighbors. Let me just tell them. Just hold on. Okay. Hello. Hello, hello. Sorry for that. There was a bit of noise from the background. There are children playing, but I've told them. Okay, we are saying attitude is everything. And if one has that negative attitude about learning, they will just remain. Because as I was saying, probably somebody was told to come and log in this training, and they felt this is something I have learned for many years, and there is nothing I do not know. So there's nothing new I will acquire. And because of that, they have not attended. But those who know the meaning of knowledge, probably they are still seated and listening, because in every training and in every forum, you will always learn something new. Even if you attended children's training, it may appear so low and of not of much value, but you will learn something out of it if you have the right attitude. And then we're saying training should help you to put theory into practice. That's why in organizations, you bring students on attachment, and interns, you bring them to the organization, because there are some things you hear from a theoretical point of view. But then when you go for a training program, you actualize, You try now to transfer the theory which you have learned from class to practice. And a good example I'll give is like maybe students pursuing medicine. In class, they are told when you are operating a person, they are given dummies and they are given maybe pictures and they are told now this is how you go about it, this is how you instill to make someone now, this is how you go about it. But then now that is theory because uh, in class they cannot be brought somebody to do operation. Now when they go to the actual internship in hospital, they go to where a person is being operated. They see, and now they try now to link the theory they were given in the lecture room to the practice. Same way as HR practitioners. Maybe we were being taught when we were getting training, we were being taught currently the learning is virtual, unlike before. We are learning through online Zoom, we are learning through Teams. There's somewhere we were being taught, they were talking about the future of HR. But now, the theory I learned as we speak now is what I am practicing. I didn't even know what Zoom is until I saw the icon and I saw how it is working. I was hearing about Teams. eh, Now I have seen how it works. So learning is important because unless also you have the theory, the practice may not work very well. The same way when you are learning a skill like driving, you go to a theory class where you are told when you are turning this car, you do this, you give a right way of this and all that. But now, practically, because you want now to transfer uh, theory to practice, now you go to the road with the driver, and the driver now holds your hand and tells you now, this is what we are saying. The sign we are saying stop is this one, and you see it. And now you become a better person. So theory and the practice, when they come together, you become a better person. The same way as a HR person who is learning training. You are told when you are handling this kind of person, this is how you go about it. Now, when you go to the actual place, you see how people are behaving. You see people yawning, you see people fidgeting, you see people walking out, and this tells you something is not okay and you adjust. Theoretically, you cannot do so, but practically, you learn the behavior of people, and your personality now comes out to know how to handle different people at different times of the training program. Then we are saying training should help to evaluate abilities and competencies of the learners. After training, you should be able to evaluate and to know whether the learning has taken place through competencies. Competencies are those skills, knowledge, and skills. For example, if you had a secretary who was very slow, who was not formatting a document properly, who was making a lot of errors, after training, you can always evaluate. And also, if a secretary or a driver, they were arrogant to their customers, you can always tell through behavior change. If the secretary now is doing a good document, she's handling customers well, the driver is now neat and cleaning the car thoroughly, you know, yes, here learning has taken place, and it is important now they continue improving. And training program should enhance problem solving and decision making ability. Decision making actually is a skill. There are some people who can never make decisions. They are encountered with so many conflicting issues, and they do not know how to prioritize what should be done first or what needs to be done. But through capacity building, through decision making and what needs to be done, you find now at least you give your junior some work to do and you tell them make the right decision. They are able to do so, and they can only do so if they have the right competences, the right attitude, the right skills, the personality, and also if they are able and they have been well equipped with the right skills to make that decision. Because if you make the wrong decision, it affects the entire organization, and you may end up losing either your customers, revenue, time, and important activities, which could be detrimental to your organization, starting from the CEO and to the organization. And we are saying training program should improve the performance of the learner, whether at the workplace, school, college, home, church, community, or wherever it is. So training should not only be confined to the place of work. If you are a leader, as you are right now, your skills should benefit any people you come into contact with. And whatever skill you acquire, do not keep it. Share it with other people, because as you share knowledge, you are also impacting other people. Don't be happy when you are the only one who knows something new. If you know anything or any skill which can help anyone, go and share with them, because as you share, you are expanding the network or the pool of skills. And the more skilled you have, the better for you, because your work becomes even better. So let that performance improve through what you know and by through sharing the information. Still, we are saying currently training has become a core requirement. And that one I said from the onset. It is one of the key requirements at the workplace. Today's modern world is highly competitive, and I cannot overemphasize on that. And the training is one of the main functions that help employees to keep abreast of the times. I think have been repeating all that throughout. This world is changing very fast. And in addition to your employees, you as a HR person, because you are the pivotal person in the organization, and all the CEOs, all the board members are looking at the HR practitioners for information. That's why you need to keep on learning, to keep on consulting. And for those who have not yet attended the CHRP training, find time, organize yourself, and attend, because that training is going to equip you with a lot of skills and information that will enable you to address any emerging issue at the workplace. Because I said human resource sometimes is not defined. Things come which you can never be taught in class. And a good example is what is happening now. We are having COVID-19, and there are many, many things which HR needs to advise the board. So, back to our office, the importance of training at workplace, because that's where now we start our work. So, these are some of the key points among many, 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 many others of training at the workplace. So one of them is training helps new entrants or employees in the organization in attaining raw clarity. Of course, when you bring a new employee at the place of work, they need to know their role, what they are supposed to do. I know we have induction programs. Some of them are well defined. For other organizations, it is just something which is taken lightly, but you should have that raw clarification to avoid ambiguity so that the employee settles very well. The new employees, we are saying, they may be straight from university or college, they are full of theory. So that theory needs to be now integrated with the actual work that goes on. On the other hand, a new employee may be employed. And of course, when you are bringing a new employee, you bring the most qualified because I am sure you take them through interviews and all that, and you bring the best. No matter how good you are from a different organization, but now the new organization has a different way of doing things. So for this new employee to settle very, very fast, they need to get training so that they know the culture, the processes, what is required of them, their expectations. So this is one of the importance of training at workplace. And I'm sure all of you were taken through that, but others who may not have this program, you learn through try and error, and you find settling may not be as smooth. But as organized professional HR practitioners, it is important to have in place a well-defined training program for all the new employees, whether experienced or not, whether new, depending on their level of entrance, there should be a well-defined program, and it is you as a HR practitioner to either train them or coordinate the training as per the functional areas of each and every department. And training at the workplace helps employees to grow and achieve promotions. At this point, in order to motivate your employees, it is important before you recruit from outside, you look at the internal employees. And if you feel there is a potential employee who may fit a certain position due to succession planning, when you are doing HR audit and succession planning, you can start grooming that employee by ensuring they acquire the competencies and the qualifications required for that higher position before the incumbent leaves the office. So take that employees for training so that by the time this employee exits the organization, they can fit. Because promoting people from within is a very good motivation to the employee. So consider your employees first before you go to the outside market. So as you do the planning for future and succession, look at the employees so that they occupy those positions well in advance through coaching, mentoring, training, short courses, skill gaps, filling, and all that. And the training helps to prevent an individual skill from being outdated and obsolete. That one I'm sure you will all agree with me. And some of you were trained using typewriters, using other machines which were used for photocopying those days. But now, even telephones, we were using the ones we were dialing. But now, we no longer use those ones. So those skills are already outdated. And if any one of us never upgraded themselves, then they are irrelevant. We have those baby boomers, those who were born those many years around 1964. The way they were trained is not the same way now things are working. And you will agree with me, technology keeps changing. Even the phones, your first phone which you bought, I'm sure is not the same phone you are using right now. You have bought a phone with more features because now those Nokia you were using about 5 years ago, they are already outdated and you can't even dare remove it from your pocket because they are obsolete. The skills you were using for your employees when they want to go to hospital or take their children to school, first of all they come, fill a form, and then they take their children to school. I'm sure those are not the skills now you are using currently. Tap of a button, you send SMS or WhatsApp and you say, I'm held up, I'm taking my child to school, and you are good to go. You don't have to come all the way to the office because when you do that, you'll be alone. Working at home now is the in thing. You don't have to bring all those big reports. Long time ago, you used to get your payslip printed. Most of you don't have those payslips. You just get it online. And if you didn't learn how to use computer, even the basics, you won't be able to access your payslip or some of the information. When it comes to procurement, you use to fill the requisition form and all that. These days, you don't use that. You do it online. Therefore, we have to ensure we outdo or we do away with outdated and obsolete skills. And this can only work if we do training at workplace and we train what is current, what is in the market, what is compatible, and what every other person is doing. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we all become obsolete and outdated. And we must keep abreast in such forums. For those who don't even attend such forums, they will be talking things of the past, whereas others are 20 miles ahead. It is important to upscale and update your skills every other time. Get to know what is happening. Otherwise, you go somewhere when people are talking, you just keep quiet because what you know, it is so old and you don't even want to share it with people because they will ask you, brother or sister, are you a HR practitioner? This one is no longer in use. So keep on upgrading your skills. Another importance training at workplace is the training helps you to improve quality and the productivity of employees. This one we are talking of the quality, efficiency, just-in-time production, avoidance of errors, producing very fast. And this one can only be done because you need to acquire new skills. New machines are being brought in to enhance efficiency and the productivity because time is of essence. And when we focus on our customer, because in your core values in your organization, I'm sure all of you have a customer focus. And of course, we need to serve our customers as per their request, as per their specification, and as they want, because customers are the ones who make us be where we are. Customers pay our bills. Customers are what make us go to work. And if they want their goods or their documents in a particular way, we have to adjust. And if we have been using a particular machine, we have to bring on board a machine which may be different from what we've been using. And for us to operate that machine or gadget or that equipment, we need to adjust. And if there's a particular quality they want, for example, we have seen in marketing, a producer brings in a certain kind of uh, item or product in the market. If customers don't want it, you have no choice but to go and produce as per their specification. So in that case, if you want to improve the quality and the productivity, you need now to train employees in order to adjust to operate that machine as required. And again, training at the workplace uh, helps you as an employee to meet organizational objectives. Of course, every organization has the long-term goal, and then it has to achieve that goal, it has objectives which are drawn from the overall strategic plan. And unless an employee is trained or is aware of the organizational objectives, definitely you won't focus on those objectives. So you look at your docket because those objectives are cross-cutting. There are some which are to be met maybe by ICT department, others through marketing, others through procurement, others through human resource. Unless now all the functional heads are aware of the organizational objectives, you find one department may underperform because they don't see how they are interlinked with the others. And unless now there is teamwork by all the heads, you find you are not going to achieve those organizational objectives. So training should embrace and let all the functional ends that no one works in isolation. They work as a team to drive and achieve the organizational goal through the set objectives. And probably if because of the attitude, because we know there are some heads who have a negative attitude and they are not team players. And they think if their department shines alone, they will get the credit. But if the others are not performing, it means now there is a gap somewhere. And for the organization to achieve its goal, all the objectives must be met and they must be met from all the functional heads. So it is important for the heads to be trained that if one department fails, the entire organization fails because it's not a matter of who is doing better than the others. We need to balance and ensure all the departments are moving towards the same direction, because it's not personal, it's not individual, it is organizational. And if one area fails, the entire organization fails. And as HR practitioners and as heads of other various units, divisions, and departments, we all fail. So that training is very, very important, because it's a matter of integrating each and every activity towards achieving the organizational objective, and they finally achieve the strategic objective of the organization, and your organization becomes the employer of choice. When they are being ranked, you find your organization is at the top and you feel proud, because you are part and parcel and you have contributed. And as HR, you are the people to change or try to talk to higher eds to change their attitude, because uh, when we are talking of the skills, HR practices soft skills. These other divisions like finance, audit, research, the scientists, they use the hard skills, and sometimes they do not value people. That's why they say HR is supportive. It is no longer supportive. HR now is the core. And if it is the core, it should train even those hard skills people to have human, because mostly they are concerned about the productivity and they forget the human aspect that drives that process. And in the process, you find there is a missing link, and they may achieve very well, but if they ignore and say HR is supportive, they lose the mark. The point through your acquired skills is HR, because it deals with human people who have brain, is what drives even those scientific innovations and the innovations and whatever it is. Without a human being behind it, nothing can be achieved, regardless of how high tech they are. And we are saying again, training at the workplace helps enhance and improve organizational climate. This one is through the attitude and embracing and appreciating what each department does. If uh, we appreciate what each one does, then we'll be on the right track. It helps employees to gain confidence of their capability to perform the job. We said training at least builds that confidence. I say there are some people who may not be able to speak in front of people, but through training, you should be able to speak in front of people, even through where there are people who you feel you may not face them, like the board of directors. And of course, training prevents errors caused by lack of knowledge. If an employee is not skilled through training, they are able to learn how to avoid errors and give customers what they get, because having errors, it means there is rework, which means time wasted, there is incurred cost, there is delay, and the customer is not happy. Because if you produce something which is not in conformity with customers' requirement, the customer is not happy, they won't come back, you lose those customers and you lose business. And of course, training, it helps personal growth and as well as organizational growth, because as you get training, you acquire more skills, and in the career path, you stand a good chance for career progression. Now, there are some factors which affect training program, and one of them is failure to plan, and also when to consider training and the goal. In other words, if you do not plan your training properly, you may not achieve what you want. That's why we said from the onset, before you start any training program, you should know what you want to achieve, because you just don't train for the sake of training and for recording purposes. You must know what you want to achieve. What is it I want to gain at the end of it all? So these are the factors affecting the success of training program. Uh, so one of them, it depends upon the fact whether it provides opportunities to the learners to practice what they learn. In other words, what you learn in class, if you cannot put it into practice, then it loses meaning. In other words, if you may give somebody something which cannot help them, then that training is not worth it. It's like giving too much content or something which is not relevant to the group and they cannot practice it. Like, for example, here now, if we were talking about research and all that, and yet you are not researchers, probably now that one may not help you. But what we are doing now, since it is relevant, you are going to practice it practically from your office. And another factor is active participation of trainees or participants of the training program. Uh, when we are doing other literacy, we are saying nobody has monopoly of the information, and we are all participating and we are going to practice, because already we are in practice. We are in practice, and we cannot purport that the fact that I'm training you doesn't mean I know everything. What you learn, participate, and we share knowledge, because HR is about knowledge sharing and experiences, and HR sometimes we learn through experience. So the success of training program depends on whether it allows the transfer of learning to take place from training to the actual job and or academic excellence. That's what we were saying. What you learned in class, you need to transfer it to the actual performance. Some things we hear of them, but then when we have hands-on experience or we counter them one-on-one, we become now better performance. Then the intent of the participant of the training program to learn. Of course, now, uh, sometimes you can be taken for training, but if you are not willing to learn as a participant, and this is because of the attitude, then it will lose meaning and you won't even practice. And it is my prayer from here, whatever you learn, just go and practice. I hope nobody pushed you. This is for your own good. And then the reinforcement to the learner to help reiterate the learning that took place during the training. Reinforcement is just to ensure what you learned, you are practicing it on daily basis. Then the learning from your own point of view, whether it has helped you or not, that is key, and that is now what we call the self-motivation, or the intrinsic, the internal motivation, you as a person. So decision for making training of an employee, we are asking, Does the employee need any training? Let's not go to our employees. Let's personalize it, because in every training I said, try to personalize it to yourself. Do you now, right now as you sit there, do you need that training? If yes or no, it is personal. Then what goals of organization should employee meet? Is what you are doing going to help the employee? Is what you are getting now tied to goals of the employee? And for this time, I would say yes, because you have the core values, you have your strategic plan, and since you are part and parcel, you should able to advise or to achieve one of the goals now through this training. Now, what tasks should the employee complete to achieve the goal? You know the activities what are required to be done to achieve that goal. Of course, as HR, you already have your objectives which must be addressed or met through that, be it technology transfer, be it employee training. You know it because you know your organization very well, and what behaviors are necessary to achieve this. You know your employees very well, and you know the gaps you are having in your organization. Now try to imagine your organization and what are the goals going to be achieved, and what are the gaps. Do all your employees have what it takes to perform the current duties? If no, now begin the training of the trainer program so that they acquire the necessary skills to avoid unnecessary delays, errors, and all that. So this is your role as a trainer, because by now I'm sure you should be able to train. One of them is to plan. We have seen previously that training fails due to lack of planning. You don't know what you want to achieve through planning. So you just conduct training for the sake of it. So you as an organized person, you are the planner. Plan, what is it I want to achieve through this training? And you are an expert. You are an expert in that. At least you have the skills to train, and you should be able to articulate what you want your employees to get, or your board of members to know, in terms of now employee engagement, talent management, and all that. And you are the instructor. Now you are the team leader, instructing and telling them this is how we need to do. If it is a new HR officer who has been employed from the market or who has joined the organization, you instruct them, this is how we do it, and then you monitor them, and then you facilitate. And the facilitation is by various ways. You provide what is required in terms of infrastructure, information, or the materials to ensure they settle down. But we will look at them briefly in a nutshell, what it is. We shall give you all this, and you become the resource person. That you are the source of information, you are the contact person, you give the mentorship, you give the coaching, you become the source of every detail this new employee requires. And again, of course, a role model. As a HR person, you walk the talk. Let people see what you say is what you do, because they are looking at you. And you become a core learner. That's why we are saying you cannot know everything. Even if you have been in this profession for as many years as you've been there. So, as a planner, in a nutshell, we say you design the learning experience. I think that is self-explanation. Just planning as it is, it doesn't require another explanation. We know the expert. You people are the experts right now, helps to transmit expertise, knowledge, information. And of course, an expert, we know, they have everything. They are the people we call the gurus. Like now, the young people, the computer savvy people, I call them experts because I also personally learn from the young people because I am not an expert in technology, but you tap their expertise, you learn from them. You cannot be like them, but tap because that is their area. You have your own area. Instructor, this one I don't need to explain, you direct learning situation. And here I like it, especially now when you are called by your CEO. That's where now they know, yes, Mary is a good instructor and has that confidence, facilitator. Okay, you help a group of participants or group to reach an agreed endpoint and the learning to take place. You become a, a person who creates that good environment for participants to at least learn something. You don't become a hindrance or bossy, or you start boasting that I have been in this area for 50 years, so I know everything. Facilitate people at least to get something out of everything. You do not dominate any information, no matter how much you think you may know. That is not a good facilitator. Ensure you allow also these people to get where you are and most probably even exceed. Because if you facilitate a person and it becomes even better, that gives you a lot of satisfaction. And then, as a resource person, we have said you provide all the required materials, whatever is required, office, materials, infrastructure, even the time, whatever they require, provide so that people settle down without uh, many complaints. And here we say, walk the talk. That's all what I can say about being a role model. You don't preach water and drink wine. You don't tell people, I don't want to see anyone coming to work uh, drunk, and you are the first one to come speaking in vernacular under the influence of alcohol. If you tell people it is like this, it should be like this. If you are leading a meeting, you tell them this is what we are going to do. Allow also people to participate. Don't be a dictator and respect people, they will respect you because uh, character is and you don't go demanding, saying, I'm like this. Let your behavior speak for yourself and you stand a good chance. And of course, uh, I said, nobody has a monopoly of information. We learn together. It's just like parenting. There is no school for parenting. You grow with your child at whatever stage. If they are at nursery stage and they are holding that matope, be with them. If they are at university level and they are talking about logic, argue with them. If you are at the board level and they are talking of strategies of the business, be there to contribute and tell them now, if we use this model, we are going to make money and we are going to cut on cost on this. So be a learner and be humble to fit in every category of any learner. Don't think you are a boss and start bossing people around. They will fear you and you would be able to catch them. Humility is good and it earns you a lot of respect. Na kuna kaswali hapa. Which of the following roles of a trainer helps to design the learning experience? You can see the next slide will give us the answer. If you get it right, clap for yourself. If you miss it, this is the correct answer. Okay, and I'm sure most of you got it. And I am saying that's very good. Congratulations, good students. Okay, so depending on the kind of people you are having, you must vary your style because in this country we have very eloquent people who can speak a sentence and you do not grasp it or get any meaning unless you go to your dictionary or you go to refer. And they are communicating, okay? But then, even using those big words, you may find you are speaking, but you are not communicating. Because sometimes you may use language and find it is jargon, depending on how, because the content of train the trainer program, probably now, if I was training fresh graduates who have never practiced in HR, I may not have used this kind of content I'm using right now. Probably, if I was dealing with the baby boomers HR practitioners who were trained those many years of personnel management, probably those who may not have gone beyond Form 4 because they are there and through their experience they are still working. I may not use the language I'm using because if I may use it much as I am talking to them, learning may not take place because of barrier in communication, the language used, the content, even the kind of media I am using. It may not help them so much. So learning styles are important and they can only make sense depending on the kind of participants you are having at any given time. So we are saying it's very important as a trainer to understand the various learning styles used by individual to learn. Learning styles have a major influence on the way an individual learns. That is very true. I've said it. Your preferred learning style guides the manner in which you internally represent experiences, manner in which you recall information, and the words you can choose. I say language here matters a lot. The kind of participants before you conduct any training, scan through and look at the demographic representation in the room. Because you may have a professor in the room, you have someone at college level, you have somebody who has the basic knowledge, and yet you have all of them in one room. So as a trainer, you look at the mode of delivery so that you move with everyone. You also look at the language used. You can vary because training is not cast on stone. And for example, if you are conducting one-on-one training, it is important to know the level of each person and where they are and how much they know, so that you balance everyone, so that at the end of the day, each and every participant has gotten something. Those who know too much, let them share what they know with those who don't. Those who know very little, ensure you uplift them at least to a level where they can get something to take home. So do not assume everyone understands how to enter into Zoom and do training. But in this forum, I am confident all those who have joined are people, at least who understand technology a bit. It may not be too much. And I know already we have in the room people who are computer savvy. I appreciate you, because in case of any challenge, you'll be here, there to help us. Because we say there's a good trainer, you are also a core learner, and you participate with us, and we do not on information. We are still learning. I'm also learning as I train you, because we are sharing this platform together. And it has been proven by research findings. And of course, the research is to find out what is happening. That each learning style uses different parts of the brain. It is true. Thus, if you are a trainer, can incorporate teaching methods that involve more and different parts of the brain, you will use train to remember more. Yeah. In other words, we are saying we use our heads to learn. And depending on the style you are using, like now, as we learn, we are using our brain. So we are saying we can use through visual looking. Others use that, like I know mostly people now in this Zoom world, they are using that audio to control the voice and all that. We are using verbal even now. Physical is by doing. Logic, those are the hard skills. The scientists, technicians, those who are doing that. Social is what we are used to do. Solitary is by doing. But the explanation is given in the next few slides. We are not going to dwell on them so much. You will read. But what you need to do about the learning style and their importance is issue. When you see something projected, at least it gets somewhere in your brain. This language here about the lobes and all that, that may not be so important, but what we are saying is you can learn through by seeing. These are the visual aids. We talk about the learning aids and the styles, and each has an importance. And we shall see the importance of each. So what is important for you now is to know we use styles. All the learning ends through the brain. We use visual, we know what that means. Audio is through hearing. In other language, you don't bother about this big scientific explanation. Verbal is what we are doing now, using words in speech, writing, and all that. And then physical uh, is by using body language. Like now, you can see from the screen physical, using hands, sense of touch, and the body language, which is very important. And this one is very important as a style, because it can tell you the kind of participants you are dealing with, depending on the timing, whether they are tired, whether they are bored, whether you are communicating. This one is very important. I said logic is by using calculations, symbols, and all that. This is usually for accountants, auditors, engineers, and all that. Social is where we do maybe work group, working together, team building, and all that. And it is very important. This one we all know. And I hope one day we shall have a symposium somewhere and we socialize, because of late we are doing e-socializing. We cannot interact, but we know why, because of COVID and all that. Then solitary, there are those people who do not like interacting people, the introverts, people who prefer to work alone and use self-study. Those are mostly the researchers, and they like working alone. There are people who never like interacting and meeting with people. Well, it's a form of style. So such people, you do not call them in forum like this, and you won't find a solitary in such a forum like this, because they like to be solo, they are on, and that's how they are. And there is importance of that, because there are people who don't like that kind of exposure. So kaswali ndio hili. Learners of which of the following learning styles prefer using their body, hands, and sense of touch? Those are the 4 choices. Pick one. Okay. The next answer is in the next slide. If you got it, clap for yourself, and then should be able to give you a gift, because you are a good student. If you missed it, this is the correct answer. Okay, physical learning, where you use your body language and the sense of touch, sense of smell, and all that. All right. In every training, you should design so that learner is motivated. Like this one is designed so that at least at the end of the day, you are going to learn something. And there are also delivery principles, okay? And we need to keep those principles in mind, so that at the end of it, you get something out of it. You also get motivated in future, so that it can help you also to motivate others. So the training program should be designed and delivered keeping in mind the following learning principles in mind. If you are not motivated, then the training may not achieve its objective. Motivation, I must say, is two-way. There is the external motivation and internal. This design was meant to motivate you as the learner. But then here there is a challenge. As trainers, we may think you are getting motivated. But now, unless you as a trainee or a participant, you have that self-motivation or intrinsic motivation, then no matter how good the design is, whether the delivery principles are followed, even to the latter, then it may not make sense. But at this point, I would request, let the training be intrinsic, be internally motivated by you as a participant, because there's no need of you sitting there for those hours and you do not get anything. Regardless of the challenges, I wish and request that you create that self-interest and know that even if it is your employer who forced you or who told you to come, you are the number one beneficiary, because any skill or any information or any knowledge you have, that is your intellectual property, something which cannot be removed from you. You will stay with it and it is your property. So try to personalize, even if you had no interest from the onset. Create that interest from today, knowing that any skill acquired, it never goes into waste. You may never practice it right now, but it is yours and you will use it somewhere where you may not know. So I would urge you to have the internal motivation, because the planning of this and the designing of this should be to motivate you. But then, unless you as a participant are motivated, then it would make sense at all, at all, at all. Then another training design and delivery principle, which as a trainer you should have in mind, is training should invite active participation of the learner. That's why we were saying, as a trainer, you should learn with the trainer, with the trainees, sorry. Participate with them and participants, allow participants uh, to give their own opinion without ignoring or putting them off. I said all the participants bring on board their experience, and that's why in such a forum like now, we have a lot of experience. Each one of us has his or her own experience, which when brought together, we become better performers. So you should not dominate, not only in training, in any forum where you are the chair, you are the team leader, or you are the lead consultant. Allow opinion of the other people. Hear what they have to bring on board, because you also get something. So when you are designing, don't say it is me, I know everything, I have the experience, and I do not want to hear anyone speaking. That is a wrong way of dealing with participants. Never underrate anyone in any forum, regardless of how they are, where they are in the organization, and the knowledge they have. Give them their chance also to contribute. Then it should provide continuous and constructive feedback to the learner. Of course, uh, the training design should provide continuous constructive feedback. Look at the word constructive feedback, not criticism. Okay? Even if a learner has not been brought up to the required standard or is not measuring or fitting, even if you have to give feedback and it is a negative feedback, do it in a form of critiquing, not criticizing. Because the moment you start giving negative feedback in a form of criticism, you have lost that employee, you have lost that participant. And remember, constitutionally, it is their right to protect their dignity. Doesn't matter how they are behaving. Every participant needs that respect. So even if they have gone wrong, they have gone out of context, they have spoken something that doesn't seem to be in line in what is socially acceptable, give constructive feedback. Use communication skills to correct that person, give them feedback, even if it is a negative feedback, use constructive, positive language to correct that rather than criticizing, because criticism is not the way to go. And it is not be heard from a modern HR practitioner, and especially in this era of uh, knowledge management, where we need to choose our words, and we are also role models, because you are being measured or viewed from what you do, what you say, how you communicate, what you do, and how you respond to issues under whatever circumstances. So another training design and delivery principle is it should fulfill the organization purpose of training the employees to meet organizational goals. I think that one we have said before. Every training should be tailor-made, first and foremost, to meet the employee needs, and by extension, to meet departmental head, and strategically to meet the organizational goals, because the ultimate uh, idea of every organization is to meet its goals, and all those goals are cascaded down to the employee through the departments and to the employees. And if any training is tailor-made to fulfill employees' goals, by extension, the organizational goal or goals met. So as you design these programs and as you deliver, be guided by your strategic plan, be it short term and or long term, and then you customize it to the department or goals, then cascade down to the employee. Then training should provide opportunity for repetition of learning. Of course, when you are training, you need to give employees opportunity to learn again, because as you learn, you are taken a notch higher of the knowledge. Then there is always a gap, because we say learning never ends. It's a continuous process. Like today, we said we are handling train the trainer program module 1, and from the onset I said we shall end at the evaluation of the training. I have left now a gap, and there is an opportunity now to pick from where we shall have left today to the next level, so that when you go to module 2, we shall move from where we are living today to the next level. Then after module 2, we shall go to module 3, and then we do the total evaluation. The same way, in every activity you do, there is always a gap. Even in the research as you do when you are doing term papers or whatever you are doing, when you are doing your conclusion, you leave a gap for someone else to take over from there, because research is continuous, it's a form of learning, and learning never ends. Because even now, there's a lot of research which is going on all the things which we are doing. So leave that opportunity for repetitive of the learning. Because when you say now you've learned everything, it means now you've clogged your mind and you do not want anything. But learning is a continuous process. It never ends, and it will never end. Even when we grow old, even when we stop being able to absorb anything, learning will continue. It is started, it is continuing, and we are seeing new developments evolving. Then we are saying training should provide opportunity for application of learning. I think that one is very straightforward. Apply what you've learned, because it will be seen now as behavior change. Something new has taken place. Even the way you address now the staff, the board members, the way you conduct business, at least see that there is a bit of change. And then the delivery of training should be done in an open, efficient, and consistent manner. Yes, you don't have to talk about this and then again. You should be focused. That's why it needs to be designed, planned, well organized, given time, then delivered in a structured manner so that there is consistency, not to confuse the participants, taking them left and right. Then training should try to include on the job training opportunities. This one is like what we were saying, uh, transferring knowledge from class to the actual place of work. Like uh, those who are from college, you hear of HR manual, you've never seen it, or you are told this is how we do a memo, this is how we do an email, this is how we address the CEOs, and all that. All that theory you've learned, bring it on the job, and if possible, you do it with the, the candidate, and should include away from the job training opportunities. This is like the attachments, the secondments, exchange programs, benchmarks, so that you go and also learn from what other people are doing. You transfer what you know, you also learn from them, and you become a better person. So that, like in universities, the lecturers take some leave, they go for 1 year, they learn something, and when they come back, they are refreshed, they have learned something from wherever they are. Then also they transfer the knowledge they had acquired from the institution, and then when they blend that kind of information, you find they are better lecturers. So on the job training is job instruction training, vestibule training, training by supervisors. So all these coaching through simulation, apprenticeship, and the job rotation. So on the job training means even within your organization, you can just rotate employees so that they learn and appreciate what goes on. Because when you understand, for example, you understand what marketing does, and you are from HR, you will understand why they need some time to go and design those marketing brochures and all that. And also you will get to understand the customer taste. Then vestibule training, whereby you get employees moving from one department to another department and getting to dig deeper what goes on, and also inquiring from other institutions. Then training by supervisors. A supervisor comes in, they tell you this is what is happening, this is how we do it, this is how we manage it. Then coaching is letting an employee discover for themselves. Then through simulation is by having those items to play with, calculations and all that, using dummies and all that. Apprenticeship is technical. This is usually done by technicians. Uh, these people, craftsmen, so that they bring the skills. And then job rotation from one department to another. So on-the-job training actually enhances the skills that you have it hands-on. Then off-the-job training is like now what we are doing right now. We are having virtual conference and we are talking about what goes on. We have lectures, that one we understand very well. Right now we are having programmed instruction training because that one is programmed. We have done case studies. Those who have gone through CHRP, in all questions there is always a case study that gives a scenario in an office and then you are given to make something out of that. Role play is like dramatizing, training groups like workshops, retreats, and a group meeting. So we are all talking about the job when we are doing that. Sensitivity training is whereby you put people together and you see how they are reacting because you bring people of different caliber. There are people who don't like interacting with others, and that's where now you see the true characters of people because you know we have all types of people. The know it all, the yellers, the yellers, who all those who agree with everyone, those who know everything, those who will never allow others, and then you get to know who is who and who needs to work where. Then there is forum for training like what uh, recently we are doing. And finally, of the job training method, that is exactly what we are doing right now, virtual training on intranet. That is exactly what we are doing. It has not been popularized uh, there before, but now that is the in thing at the moment. And then just to relax and to ask the retention of learners, like, and especially the adult literacy. Imagine through that reading, you only learn 10%. Okay? What you are hearing, 20%. What you are seeing right now, 30%. 50% of what you hear and see, and 70% of what you say. That's why, as a trainer, you should allow participants to speak without putting them off, because as you speak, you remember what you said and you remember also what somebody else. That is a good way of participation, engaging, and ensuring you capture the attention of participants. Because if you don't speak and you sit for all those hours, the level of concentration definitely will disappear because you are using your brain, it is getting tired and all that. And the most interesting and the best one as a trainer, what you should know is the retention of participants is what they say, that is speech, and the physical doing, what we call kinetic. Okay, so in all this, unfortunately now we may not do much, or say because we are in a programmed training, but ordinarily for any learning to stick to participants, that participation one-on-one, and this agrees with what I said. In a training like this, we are sharing information. This now confirms what I was saying from the onset, that in this forum, nobody knows more than the other. Because if you are saying something and you are doing it, your retention of the learning is 90%. So we are saying, regardless of the situation, regardless of the technology, regardless of whatever we are doing, participation is very key, because you are sharing, you are seeing what your colleague is doing, you are also doing it. Because if it is saying, this is what I do at my place of work, I lead the team in sharing and implementing eh, the rules which the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health has said. I facilitate this, I plan this, I coordinate this, and I do this. And this is what I say. So you will always remember, because right now, if there are emails you yourself have done, even if you are called right now, you will articulate them and say, I did this, I coordinated this, I chaired this meeting, this is what we said, and this is what was agreed on. So you find you can retain that information. So the same way you retain and recall the information which you did in the office, in learning and in training, when you allow your participants to say something, they will never forget. Because they said, when we were in this place, I said this and I also did this. And I can remember and recall very well, this is what I did. So allow your participants to speak. Even those who are shy to speak in forums like this, encourage them to speak. And which of the following is off job training method? There are 4 choices. Pick one. I'm sure you have picked one. See whether you got it right or wrong. If you got it right, clap for yourself. If you missed, uh, this is the answer of the job training meeting, right? And because I said our module has, the training has 3 modules, this objective will keep on repeating themselves, but it's just to remind ourselves. So, phases of training and development program. This is something to remind ourselves. It is something we usually do either at the beginning of the financial year or depending on our training program projection, because you do your projection either 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, depending on your strategic plan, because the training program should be aligned with your strategic plan. So the first phase is to do TNA, training needs assessment or analysis. This will give you the gaps, what the employee currently is doing, the requirements of that job he or she is handling vis-a-vis the competences or the qualifications the employee is currently having. And a good example on how to do this TNA, in some organizations you find some employees are acting, and they could be acting in positions where they are not qualified. So when you conduct a training needs assessment, you will see This job requires a person to have a master's degree in human resource, CHRPK, 10 years of experience. But now the incumbent is having masters in human resource, has the required experience of 10 years, but does not have CHRPK. So the training gap is a CHRP. So what you pick from there is the employee needs to be taken for that training so that now they can fill the gap and they can match the job, what we call job fit and the job matching. The job person specification and the person qualification so that the person is legally, professionally qualified. In the case of any audit, he or she is performing in that office rightfully. So let's see each phase in a nutshell. Training needs assessment is the first phase of training and development, and it involves detailed needs assessment or needs analysis of the prospective participant of training program. Uh, as I said earlier, it involves carrying out a detailed analysis to determine the organization's true actual need and the training program that will be required to meet those needs. In other words, we are saying you look at the organization, what that position entails, what kind of a person specification is required to handle that particular job. Maybe it's a CEO, who has this kind of qualification, but as per the design, he or she does not meet the requirement. So it will be picked, and then if there's a need for training, the CEO or whoever it is taken, the need is noted, and then it is factored in for a future training. Then you do the total uh, organizational analysis. This entails analyzing organizational strategies, goals, and the mission. Of course, whatever you do at the strategic organizational level, it should be in line with the mission. Mission is the purpose or the mandate why that organization was created. And then now you put strategies. Strategies are long-term plans to ensure all those goals have been met. Then you look at now the operations. Operation is now what an individual does to meet those. So you look at what this person knows and if there are any gaps by this particular person, whether they meet or they don't. If they don't meet, you put in place a plan to ensure they meet those requirements. Even you as HR, probably the position you are holding, you may not have the required knowledge or the competences. So the next time you do TNA, you should bring out that very clearly, and sometimes you bring it through even the performance appraisal when you are doing them. Then you look at the person. What does this person have? Are there any gaps that may prohibit or make this person not be able to meet the goals of this uh, organization through deficiency of the skills or the training? And then you point it out, then it's put in place. So the information for needs analysis can be gathered from any of the following. In the government, I know we have advisory committees. They are called human resource advisory committees. That is the committee which looks holistically at all the performance appraisals after the end of the period, and then they pick out the gaps. So that is the place where you can get information about the needs analysis. That committee can point out what needs to be done in terms of the organization and employee. Then assessment centers. This is where you put now people together and then they are assessed. The competencies they have, what they can do, and it is through a way of assessing them through observation, some tests, and all that. And then there's attitude survey that can be administered through either questionnaire or verbal talk. And then through group discussion, you can say through group discussions, we require this, I am a unionist, so I require this, I am a team leader, and I require something. And also a questionnaire, that one you can administer where there is a large number of participants, but of course it depends on how many, because you need to have a sample size depending on what you want to achieve and the gaps which need to be required. And then you can pick the information through skills tests, psychometric tests, or simple tests to see how this person can handle a certain situation. You can do simple questions and all that. You can even see whether they are able to do a simple email. They can make a simple decision depending on what you want to achieve. And also through observation, you can see how a particular employee is handling, if it is a driver, how he is behaving, how he is driving, how his skills, and also through operating a certain machine, whether the person is coordinating, is able to look at the items, whether he's making errors, the level of speed, how he's able to control and all that through just the observation, and then you record. Performance appraisal, I think I don't need to dwell on that because that's something we have done over time. And the performance documents, how they conduct their research, how they do their reports, how they conduct their feasibility studies, and all that. You look at the work, how they have done it, formatted, how they have done their findings, conclusions, summaries, and all that. That can tell you whether they need to go for further fine tuning. And of course, exit interviews. When an employee is exiting your organization, you can just try to find out uh, the skills gap and whether there is something they feel should have been given or something they think can help the remaining employees to perform their work as required. And of course, employee interviews, random interviews through either one-on-one, focus group, or interviews with selected employees. All those media can assist in getting information for needs analysis so that when you are coming up with a training program, you know exactly the skill gaps for specific employees, specific departments, and the entire organization as a whole. So that is the first phase of training needs analysis for to ensure training and development program is prepared. And the second phase is now after you have known what is required, now you design that program in mind, keying in all those key requirements and the skills. And of course, you don't do it within a short time because some training may be long term, other short term, other sandwich, other secondment, depending on what has come out and the requirement for the organization. So depending on that, uh, you prepare now and design the training program and you actualize it by keeping in mind the outcomes of the needs analysis phase. So the training program should be designed keeping in mind the needs of the learners because they are the people who are actually performing the work. And also what should be achieved at the end of the training program. For example, if it is a driver may not have maybe the PR as he drives the colleagues at the place of work. He may lack defensive driving skills. So in case of anything, he doesn't know how to behave. So as you have this in mind, you should design a tailor-made program for driver to ensure they have achieved public relations, communication skills, defensive driving skills, and another skill that may bring a lot of etiquette as he or she executes driving skills. That is just for an example. So this
Okay.
phase
Just
also,
is.
yes, hello. This phase also includes the actual delivery of the training by the trainer to the trainees. At this point, as HR, you may not have the competence to train some of the skills which come out of the training, but you can get the services of a qualified trainer. You can get a consultant if there is a survey which needs to be done, or any relevant qualified person to handle a particular docket. But where you think as a trainer and a HR person, you can chip in or you can train, you can handle the train. But basically, because there are different professions in your organization, seek the services of qualified people to train and offer the solutions. Like, for example, there are some skills which HR may not possess, like the firefighting. So training the fire marshals may not be in your line of training because you are not an expert. You can hire those services, first aiders to assist employees in case of fire outbreaks. You may not be an expert, so you can bring on board such people, how to handle terrorism and these other technical issues which are affecting the organization. So as long as you have the information, the gaps, you can bring on board and then you draw a training program for each cadre of employees, and then you create a budget for such. And the final phase of training and development program is evaluation. And of course, whatever we do, we must evaluate to know whether we have achieved our goal or to see where we are for purpose of now making another decision, because this is a cycle. So we are saying the final phase of training and development program is evaluation. This is one of the most important phase in terms of measuring whether the trainer actually learned, and objective of training program was met or not. Because we said from the onset, if you have planned a training and development program, and at the end of it all, nothing has changed, no behavior change has been noticed, no attitude has been seen, errors are being made, people are still behaving the way they were behaving, that it means that something has gone wrong, learning has not taken place, resources have been wasted, and the objective of the organization has not been met. So these are the considerations which should be taken into account while evaluating the learners. It should be at different levels, such as the knowledge, understanding, and application. Okay, so at every level, because we are also at different levels of learning, some require knowledge, others need to understand some concepts, others need to apply some skills. So it all depends on where one is and the gap. And then the overall reduction, the overall reaction of participants should be evaluated. In other words, the general evaluation basically, because something must be cross-cutting, it should be noted then, and the manner in which the participants have learned, because there's just that general overview, which includes also the ambience, the meals, and all that. If, for example, they were in a setup somewhere, then, and even the mode of delivery, the understanding, the content, many things. It depends on how the questionnaire has been devised. Then evaluate how the behavior of participants changed after the training, because there must be change, no matter how minimal. At least after learning and training, change must be noticed. Then evaluate which of the organizational goals were affected and met at the end of the training. Carry out evaluation by applying various evaluation methods. Here we are saying the evaluation may not be one off because it is a process. Some evaluation may be done after some time because some changes take place immediately, others after some time. So it is a gradual process, and you apply various strategies to evaluate all this. And actually, it's as if I had said it earlier. For example, explain the concept information to the learners, work through process together with the learners. This is something we had said before, and it is a tip actually to summarize what you should do to teach any concept. We are saying explain the idea concept to the learners, like what we did in the morning, why we did train the trainer. I explained from the beginning, then demonstrate the idea concept information through example, case study. I think we've given examples, like when we were saying train the trainer is for an inexperienced trainer or a new person who has entered, and the idea is to get to know what goes on so that as you share, you are sharing from a point of knowledge. And then we said, as a good trainer, work through the process together with the learners. That's why I was saying, in a forum like this, we are sharing knowledge and information. And we said when we were looking at the level absorption, and retention. Allow the learners to work through the same process independently. That is now practice. Because once you learn something, even as a trainer, before you go and start training, you can do maybe mock training. You practice alone because it is a skill to know where you are getting it or you are not. Because we are saying learning is continuous and you must practice because it never ends. And you learn, you get corrected, you perfect it as a skill. And there is a question here. I think this is the final question. Which of the following is the last phase of training and development? I think that is what we were discussing in the previous slide. 1 minute to get the correct answer. Which of the following is the last phase of training and development program? Okay, this is the correct answer and it is good. Okay. He said because of the 3 modules, after some time, the objective will always be brought so that we are reminded, and also we are reminded the slide where we are, and from the onset I said this is the criteria for evaluation, and that is what ends our first module for today. So before we close, we will look at this. Uh, this is the criteria for evaluation of training. It's important that the correct criteria is used to evaluate every learning program. These are some of the criteria for evaluation of any program. One of them is to find out, we evaluate whether transfer of learning to workers. And we need to know transfer of learning to workplace, whether it has taken place, whether your own goal or goals have been met, okay? And if they have been met, if there is improvement in performance. Because if learning has taken place and there is no improvement in performance, it means something must have gone wrong somewhere, either in the planning, in the design, in the execution, in the training needs assessment, gathering the information, or the information is not right. Then if there are resources required in terms of machinery, space, finances, and all that, or whether more staff need to be put on board, probably there is work overload. And that's why a certain staff may not be performing. He is overworked. Then, whether organizational goals are met, you look at areas of improvement where the organization or a department or an employee may have been underperforming, what needs to be improved. And this comes from observation or group discussion. Okay, what results have been obtained? Then objectives of the program. Have those objectives of the program been met? If yes, can they be improved in the future? If no, you go back to the drawing board and find out why the objectives have not been found, and The most important in every organization or setup is cost-benefit analysis. If the benefits, vis-a-vis the benefits, have been balanced and they have met the organizational goal, because every organization is striving to reduce cost and maximize the benefits. Because if the organization is not reducing cost, it means it is overspending. And if the organization spends more than required, it impacts on its operational cost. Even you as an employee, you are affected because if there are usually bonuses and the costs are high, it means you are not going to get those bonuses, you are not going to get your pay rise, and many other benefits as an employee are affected. So it is important to do analysis on cost benefit analysis, because that is a win-win situation. And these are the methods for evaluation of training. We use questionnaires. We all know that what questionnaires ask depends on the person handling them. If projects have been completed, at what phase, at what rate, and the cost. And then we do this simple test, psychometric test, intelligence IQ test, and then interviews are in different forms, individual, inter, group, and all that. And of course, through observation, you can tell whether there is behavior change. Feedback from you people, very, very important, and it should be taken seriously. And in every training, participants' feedback is very key, because that forms now the basis for the next training so that it can be improved. And feedback is very, very important. And as a trainer, you should take every feedback with a lot of weight it deserves. And then discussions from the participants, measuring and before and after on the job performance, very, very important, because here it is theory versus the actual performance. And then simple questions like what I have been posting to you up there. What is the last stage of GNA? They tell you whether the learning has taken place. Then interview or feedback from the supervisor. His opinion is very important as long as it is very, very objective. And I hope we are going to stop there for today. We shall meet during the next module. And thank you for your patience and for being there for us. I want to welcome any question, observation, or clarification. Thank you very much. Hello, participants. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hello.
you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Any comment, question? Hello.
Yes, Madam Agnes.
Yes.
We want to appreciate your training, your facilitation on this training. And we have learned, I myself have learned quite a lot. It is never enough to listen to a presentation somewhere. We learn new things every day. You have impacted us with new knowledge experiences, and actually we want to thank you very much. I've learned a lot. There is a question that has been posted by one of us that how long does it take to evaluate? Do we evaluate a person after the training? And I can say from the experience from my side, from where I work, after somebody has attended a training, we evaluate that training after a month after somebody has already completed the training successfully. So that is our experience I can share.
Thank you for sharing. What I can say, uh, the results after training, some may be seen immediately, others may be seen after some time. So it depends on the kind of training the person was undergoing through. I want to give you a good example. For example, you may have a personal assistant or a secretary who may have been making a lot of errors when they are typing. So immediately after the training, you can now start checking at the quality of the work. Are the errors being made? Another example is a person who has been operating a particular machine and they have been making a product with a lot of defects. Okay? Then after they have been taken through the training, how to operate that machine, you look at now the number of defective devices or products. Have they reduced or have they increased or they have remained? So from that, you can tell whether the learning has taken place. And also a good example is also, for example, your drivers. Maybe there's a driver who has been very rough on the road, and even when he is driving colleagues to work or to a workshop, maybe he uses vulgar language, he is not well groomed, and he does not observe the road rules. After the training, you can observe how his driving skills are. So these are some of the examples. Others are those who are doing maybe projects. Probably they have been given a project which are not done to the required standard. So whoever is in charge of that, they can look at the project, whether now they have started using the right formatting, doing it as it is required, then you can tell. So it all depends on the kind of the training one has undergone through. And even you now as an HR practitioner, probably you may need to do a certain report after some time. How fast will you be taking to do this report? Maybe it has been taking 3 days to do the report after a certain workshop or after training or after some time. Now, if you see now a change in time frame, you can see at least something is taking place. So this one has no specific answer, it all depends. But you can always tell whether change of attitude has been achieved. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Another question, and thank you for that question. It's a good one. Any other? Okay, participants, I think it has been quite some time for you sitting, and I want to appreciate your contribution, your persistence, and I hope we will meet again. I wish you a pleasant weekend and a new week ahead. Thank you very much. I think now you can leave at your own pleasure.
Thank you, Agnes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
Thank you, sir.
Hmm?